Sup gang, we all know that electrical stuff is more difficult to make than a boring old pair of non-electric shoes, right? Well, if you look really closely, they might not be so dissimilar after all. Have you ever tried to make polyurethane? Of course you haven't. You're not a polyurethanist. No one is. In reality, a battery and Air Jordans are both more complicated to make than an all-you-can-eat buffet for sumo wrestlers that's profitable. This is Fred. As you can see, Fred here is a super genius. He's a rocket scientist slash electrical engineer slash professional shoemaker. Basically, if you can think of it, he can make it. Today we'll send Fred back to 1st century China during the reign of Emperor Guangwu to see which of these products might have been more difficult to make back then. We usually send Fred back somewhere like ancient Rome to reinvent stuff, but today is China, cause why not? Being a half a Russia away from each other, these two ancient cultures are about as different as you'd expect. If Rome was a person, he'd be a civil engineer. China would be more like a steel worker who paints in his spare time but also dabbles in industrialization. This gives China a lot of advantages that'll make making these items easier than it would be in ancient Rome. Fred's got no complaints about that. Alright, stop wasting my time. Let's get into the meat of the video. Fred will make the Air Jordans first. All Jordans are made a bit differently, hence each has its own unique personality. But Fred will use materials that you'll find standard on a lot of models. Believe it or not, the most important element to making a pair of Nikes is the humble caster bean. It's required for literally every single part of our Jordans. These things grow naturally in India and hadn't made it to China in the 1st century yet, so first thing Fred's gonna do is get that trade happening. He could use other organic oils from peanuts or sesame seeds, but castor oil already naturally contains the required hydroxyl groups, eliminating several potential steps. And that's about all the chemistry lesson you'll get here, folks. Nothing could ever replace your loving OChem textbook. Fred's gonna need to mix some polyols with isocyanates to make polyurethane for the midsole. Getting his castor bean polyols is simple enough, but the isocyanate part will be no picnic. Isocyanates weren't synthesized until this dashing bloke was president. It is now a complex industrial process, but Fred'll try his darndest in ancient China. The best way to describe the rest of this process is to pretend we're baking a cake. Fred's first gonna make a tasty concoction of calcium cyanate by roasting a dollop of animal bones with a spoonful of potash to get cyanate salts, then recrystallizing it for 4 hours to get that deliciously pure calcium cyanate. During the recrystallization, he'll take a break to explore some local caves in search of vitriols. He needs to make some real nasty stuff that ancient people called oil of vitriol. Today we call it sulfuric acid. This is one of the angriest acids out there, successfully destroying almost everything it touches. On his way back, Fred'll sneak into the Imperial Palace and steal some of Guangwu's personal ethanol. Not for himself, this isn't a vacation, Fred. He'll then whisk together 3 ounces of ethanol with a pinch of salt and a drizzle of sulfuric acid to get that sweetly caramelized ethyl chloride. Then combine that with his calcium cyanate and literally capture the aroma. Fred will also whip up some dihalides by adding a spoonful of teensy little bugs to some castor oil plus 3 tablespoons of bromide. Then blend that with more cyanate salts and bada bing, bada boom, he's got diisocyanates. I hope you're getting hungry because we're almost finished. Simply stir the polyols and isocyanates for 3 minutes to get polyurethane. Then add in a dash of water to form tiny carbon dioxide bubbles for that nice cushiony midsole top of the line Nike feel.
Not sponsored.
And you know what's extra cool? Nike uses a cold cement process to glue parts of the shoe together, and Fred can make that glue with polyurethane and ethanol. Next up, Fred will make polyester mesh for padding in the shoe. He'll of course need more castor oil, plus some sugar alcohols to turn into diols and diacids. Diol. Take the oil, react with wood ash, boil and distill that to get glycerol. Diacid. Reduce honey to sugar alcohol. Abracadabra, it's not your call, give me some sugar alcohol. Then slowly heat these together and boom, we got soft shoes. Now on to the rubber sole. China wasn't blessed with the Amazon rubber tree, but pretty much any milky sap will do. Lots of plants have this. You saw it when you were 5 when you picked that gorgeous dandelion bouquet on Mother's Day. Collect some of this plant milk, add more of that castor oil along with some soot, cure it with smoke and heat, then press into a mold. Leather. I have actually helped my dad make real leather before, and it is as disgusting as it is painstaking. The fact that people figured out how to do this before the internet is truly remarkable. You know what? There's probably a layer of tissue between the hair and muscle of that creature, and if I could deflesh to isolate that layer with the help of a lime solution, then treat it with some proteolytic proteins to soften it, then soak it in a salty acidic mixture for a few weeks to lower the pH and make it so it doesn't rot, then slowly bring the pH levels back up a bit and air dry it under tension, I could have pants. Luckily, the ancient Chinese were also pretty dang good at dyeing leather, so Fred'll make a trade with some dudes. The amazing futuristic big pen he had in his pocket in exchange for some black and red leather. And behold, the world's first Air Jordans. Quick reminder to hype, like, and subscribe. Diarrhea, vomiting, and back pain may occur as a result of excessive joy. Consult your doctor today about watching the mic stuff. Alright, let's see how easy it'd be to make a AA alkaline battery in ancient China. And this thing's gonna work. Won't be no bum crummy, cheapskate, shoddy, low rent knockoff wannabe. We're doing this. Fred's gonna need brass, zinc, manganese dioxide, potassium hydroxide, steel, and carbon. He'll start with the zinc since he needs that for both the zinc powder and to make brass. So he'll gather some spherolite, of which there are exceptional natural deposits right smack here. Baking the spherolite for 6 hours to let the sulfur burn off leaves you with some very useful zinc oxide. Next, Fred's gonna stir some charcoal into the roasted zinc oxide. Then heat this mixture in a clay pot to capture that aromatic zinc vapor. Once the vapor condenses and solidifies, grind it into a powder, and that's the anode. To make brass, Fred needs copper, but that's been around since you could still walk from Russia to Alaska. Just mix some of that copper with more of that zinc, and Fred's got himself some brass. To make manganese dioxide, you might be thinking you could just crush some pyrolusite, filter out the impurities in a trough, then mix in some graphite, and you'd be correct. Fred's got his cathode. For the potassium hydroxide, Fred needs potash. This is basically just ashes from a fire. He'll also send his assistant to southern China for some limestone, because you can burn this to make calcium oxide. Mix that with the potash and you got your electrolyte. Lastly, Fred needs to invent steel. This sorta existed for thousands of years, but wasn't mass produced until 1855. For this, Fred'll need to find some magnetite, which is everywhere. He'll crush it, heat it up, add some charcoal, and he's done. Combine everything into the steel battery case and you can power up that old Walkman you found in the attic. The short of it is, the Air Jordans were exactly 14.65% more difficult to make. If you've made it this far in the video,
maybe you're willing to come a little further.
I know you'd like to see more Fred instead of long boring sponsor ads, so I've got good news for you. There's a free and easy way to support the channel, beyond subscribing of course. I'm trying out Amazon affiliate links. You don't have to buy the product it takes you to. Just click the link that looks something like this in the video description, then do your normal Amazon shopping, and I'll earn a meager commission off everything you buy. Right down to the toilet paper and pig fetuses. Doesn't matter. You could also become a channel member and get perks. Thank you kindly.